petroleum products taxes and levies, 21. A look at the election campaign financing bill number 37 of 2021 is that the principal object of this bill is to amend the Elections Campaign Financing Act 2013 to align its provisions with the Elections Act 2011 and further propose amendments that will enable its implementation, as the current provisions do not take cognizance of current socio, economic and political structures, which has hindered the full implementation of the law. The bill does not contain any provisions limiting any fundamental rights or freedoms. Then the bill may affect the functions of county governments as set out in the 4th schedule to the Constitution, and is therefore a bill concerning counties. This bill is moved by the Chairperson, Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee. On the Elections Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 41 of 2021, which is also set to be read for the first time on the floor of the House, is that the principal object of this bill is to amend the Elections Act to provide that persons nominated to county assemblies by political parties pursuant to Article 177 of the Constitution shall be persons who are registered voters in the county in which they are nominated. This bill does not delegate legislative powers and does not limit fundamental rights and freedoms. This afternoon as well, the House will proceed on a committee of the whole House to discuss the WAF bill tabled by the Leader of Majority. This is National Assembly Bill number 73 of 2019. The entrance of the National Assembly, as you can see, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Justin Muturi, has stepped into the chambers. He will be overseeing this afternoon's session. I will now hand you over to the live broadcast brought to you by Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in conjunction with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. Good afternoon. My name is Akam Chimenza. Welcome.
Let us pray. Almighty God, who in wisdom and goodness have appointed the office of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon your assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests were committed to our charge. Amen. Do you have quorum? Good.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages.
Could the members were on a Bokangogo, if you can walk in. Marakwet East. Honor members, this is a message from the Senate. Pursuant to the provision standing under 41, I wish to report to the House that I've received a message from the Senate regarding its passage of the following 6 bills. 1, the Public-Private Partnership Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2021. 2, the Health Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 26 of 2020. 3, the Investment Promotion Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 2 of 2021. 4, the Office of the County Printer Bill, Senate Bill number 13 of 2021. And 5, the Disaster Risk Management Bill, Senate Bill number 14 of 2021. And 6, the County Boundaries Bill, Senate Bill number 20 of 2021. Honourable members, the first message is in respect to the passage of the Public-Private Partnership Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2021. And members will recall that this bill, which sought to provide for the participation of the private sector in the financing, construction, development, operation, or maintenance of infrastructure or development projects through public-private partnerships, was passed by the National Assembly on 30th of June 2021. The message conveys, in part, that the Senate considered and passed the said bill with amendments on 21st of October 2021, and now seeks the concurrence of the National Assembly in accordance with the provisions of Article 112, Clause 1, Paragraph B of the Constitution. Consequently, the Senate has proposed amendments to Clauses 6, 33, and 75, and inserted new clauses 75A, 75B, 75C, and 75D. Honourable members, the second message relates to the passage of the Health Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 26 of 2020, published filed Kenya Gazette Supplement number 198 of 19th November 2020, and passed with amendments on 21st of October 2021. The bill seeks, in brackets, to amend the Health Act to enhance the functions of the Kenya Human Resources Advisory Council in order to empower it to advise the national and the respective county governments on health, human resources, and for connected purposes. Close the quotes. That message is with respect to the passage of the Investment Promotion Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 2 of 2021, published via the Kenya Gazette Notice number 11 of 12 February 2021, seeking, in brackets, to amend the Investment Promotion Act to ensure the participation of county governments in the promotion of trade in the country and for connected purposes. Close the quotes. The bill was passed with amendments on Thursday, 21st of October 2021. Our members, the fourth message is with respect of the passage of the Office of the County Printer Bill, Senate Bill number 13 of 2021, which sought, in brackets, to establish the Office of the County Printer in each county to provide for the functions, mandate, management, and administration of the office, and for connecting purposes. The bill was published via Kenya Gazette Supplement number 11 of 12 February 2021 and passed with amendments on Thursday, 21st of October 2021. The fifth message relates to the Disaster Risk Management Bill, Senate Bill number 14 of 2021, which seeks, in brackets, to establish the National Disaster Risk Management Authority and County Disaster Risk Management Committees to provide a legal framework for the coordination of disaster risk management activities and for connecting purposes, close the quote. The bill was published via Kenya Gazette Supplement number 34 of 12 March 2021 and passed without amendments on Thursday, 21st of October. The sixth message relates to the County Boundaries Bill, which was published via Kenya Gazette Supplement number 42 of 23rd March 2021 and passed with amendments on Thursday, 21st of October 2021. The bill seeks to provide for county boundaries, to provide for a mechanism for the resolution of county boundary disputes, to give effect to Article 188 of the Constitution by providing for the procedure for alteration of county boundaries, to provide for the establishment of an independent county boundaries commission, and for connecting purposes, close the quote. Honourable members, as you may have noticed, all those bills were passed on the same day, on 21st of October, because the other house doesn't, it passes in delegations. That's when after Mashujaa, the delegates were able to come. The Senate, having considered and passed the 6 bills, now seeks the concurrence of this House. Our standing orders require the Speaker to cause a bill received from the Senate to be read a first time upon conveyance of its message. The House Business Committee will schedule the 5 Senate bills for first reading in tomorrow's afternoon on the paper. At the first reading, and pursuant to Provisional Standing Order 127, the bills are referred to the respective committees as follows: the Health Amendment to the Committee on Health, Investment to Committee on Trade and Industry, the Office of the County Printer to the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security, the County Boundaries Bill to the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, the Disaster Risk Management to the Administration and National Security Committee of this House. Our members, in considering the bills, the same committees will be expected to, among other things, apply themselves to the provisions of Articles 109, Clause 5, and 114 of the Constitution relating to origination and definition of a money bill, and make appropriate recommendations to the House as required by the Constitution. The committees should also refer to my message dated 30th of September 2021 on consideration of Senate bills. The reports of the respective committees shall assist in guiding the House with respect to the next stages and prioritization of the said bills, especially given the fact that 3 of the bills, that is the Office of the County Printer Bill, the County Boundaries Bill, and the Disaster Risk Management Bill, appear to have been republished by the Senate. I therefore request the committee to prioritize the 5 Senate bills in their respective agenda. Honourable members, with regard to the Public-Private Partnership Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2021, I direct the clerk to circulate the amendments to all the members in accordance with Standing Order 145. Further, the Senate amendments on the bill are hereby committed to the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning for consideration. The committee is expected to submit its report before the amendments are considered by the House. And for avoidance of doubt, the House is reminded that the National Assembly will only consider the amendments made by the Senate to the bill and not any other part of that bill. I thank you, no members. Maybe members can make their way in before I deliver the other message. I thought all those members who are standing there were on their way coming in. Some are just signing and taking off to the toilets. I thought the intention was to come in. Members, this is a message from the National Executive and it relates to a request for nomination of a person for appointment to the Equalization Fund Advisory Board. Honourable members, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 42, subsection 4, relating to messages received from the Cabinet Secretary, I wish to convey to the House that I have received a message from the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Planning requesting for nomination of a person for appointment to the Equalization Fund Advisory Board. This is in accordance with the requirements of the Public Finance Management in brackets Equalization Fund Administration close the brackets Regulations 2021. Honourable members, Regulation 4, Subregulation 1 of the Public Finance Management Equalization Fund Administration Regulations 2021 provides as follows, and I quote, "There is established an advisory board to be known as the Equalization Fund Advisory Board, which shall comprise of A, the chairperson, who shall be appointed by the Cabinet Secretary, B, the Principal Secretary to the National Treasury or his representative designated in writing, C, the Principal Secretary for matters relating to devolution or his or her representative designated in writing, D, one person from a pastoralist community nominated by the National Assembly, emphasis on pastoralist community." So please don't write to me. It is not me. I know some of you have written to me. Don't write those kind of letters because you start circulating them on social media that you have written to me. It is not me. It is pastoralist community nominated by the National Assembly, not by the Speaker. E, one person nominated by the Senate. F, one person nominated by the Council of Governors drawn from the areas defined as marginalized. G, the Chief Executive Officer who shall be the Secretary to the Board. And H, three other persons nominated from organizations working in Equalization Fund beneficiary counties and special interest groups appointed by the Cabinet Secretary. Honourable members, Regulation number 5 further provides for the qualifications of persons appointed under paragraphs A, D, E, F, and H as follows. And D is one of those ones from the pastoral communities. A citizen of Kenya, not the Honorable Jimmy Angwenyi doesn't qualify. A citizen of Kenya, even though you are one, holds a degree from a university recognized in Kenya, even if it has many. C, has at least 5 years professional experience in a relevant field, even though he has. D, meets the requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution. I suspect he could maybe. In this regard, honourable members, the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Planning is requesting the National Assembly to nominate a member for subsequent appointment in line with the Public Finance Management Equalization Fund Administration Regulations to enable full operationalization of the Equalization Fund. And I think this is important, honourable members, because this House has really deliberated on the issue of this fund. Honourable members, this is a relatively new procedure as the House is not typically involved in the nomination of persons to public offices. As such, even as I refer this message to the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning for consideration, I wish to give some further guidance that the committee will be required to convert itself into a selection panel and undertake an exercise to competitively recruit and interview suitable candidates. The committee will then be expected to submit its report on the successful nominee to the House within set timelines for consideration by the House for nomination to the minister. The House is therefore accordingly guided. Thank you.
Order number 5, papers. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Honorable Jimmy Angwenyi, or is it the majority whip? Majority whip?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, November 9th, 2021, afternoon sitting. Legal notice number 163 of 2021 relating to the retirement benefits, individual retirement benefit schemes, amendment regulations 2021. 2, legal notice number 164 of 2021 relating to the retirement benefits, occupational retirement benefit schemes, amendment regulations 2021. 3, legal notice number 165 of 2021 relating to the retirement benefits, umbrella retirement benefit schemes, amendment regulations 2021. 4, legal notice number 212 of 2021 relating to the partnerships, limited partnerships regulations 2021. 5, audited financial statements for Laikipia University for the year ended 30th June 2019. 6, report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Coast Development Authority for the year ended 30th June 2019. 7, report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Karumo Technical Training Institute for the year ended 30th June 2019. 8, report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Water Resources Authority for the year ended 30th June 2019. 9, report of the Auditor General on the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management for the year ended 31st December 2019. 10, the Consolidated National Government Investment Report for the financial year 2020-2021. And 11, reports of the Auditor General and financial statements of NGCDF in respect of the following constituencies for the year ended 30th June 2019 and the certificates therein. A, Shangamwe. B, Mavoko. C, Kilome. D, Buri. E, Kinango. F, Runyenjes. G, Taveta. H, North Hor. I, Ndia. J, Jomvu. K, Moyale. I, Gem. M, Bondo. N, Kisumu Central. O, Rongo. And P, Nyaribare Masaba. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. Vice Chair, Honorable Yenya Jirangu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to read the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, November 9th, 2021. 1. Report of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning on its consideration of nominees for appointment as members of the Privatization Commission, and 2. the Competition Authority of Kenya, respectively. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Shamala.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, November 9th, 2021. Report of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on its consideration of nominees for appointment as members of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission.
Very well. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Ayenya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning in its report on its consideration of nominees for appointment as members of the Privatization Commission and the Competition Authority of Kenya, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, November 9th, 2021, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 5 into brackets 1 and into brackets B of the Privatization Act 2005 and Section 10 into brackets B of the Competition Act 2010 respectively, and Sections 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of the following persons to the respective institution. A, the Privatization Commission. Number 1, Dr. Edward Kobodhi, PhD, member. 2, Irene Wanyoike Jerry, member. 3, Ms. Serena Anyango Orata, member. 4, Mr. Salah Adan Abdi, member. 5, CPA David J. O. Nyakango, member. And 6, Ambassador Wellington Pakia Godo as member. B, Competition Authority of Kenya. 1, Ms. Lena Munuve, member. 2, Ms. Arome K. Ashayo, member. 3, Dr. David Wanyonyi Wanyama, member. And 4, Mr. Abdi A. Mohammed, member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Shamala. Give her the...
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on its consideration of nominees for appointment as members of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 9th November 2021, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 10, Subclause 3 of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Act 2011, and Sections 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of Colonel Retired Alfred Mutweta Mshimba and Dr. Monica Wanjiro Muriu as members of Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission.
Very well. Next one.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
First question is by the Honorable Okukaunya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for according me this opportunity, and I rise to ask question number 447, 2021, directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Transport Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development, and Public Works. Roman 1. Does the ministry have any plans to reclassify Mungasi Mianga Kimaiti Luahaha Road C32, which passes through a number of constituencies, including Teso North constituency, and to upgrade it to bitumen standards? Roman 2. Out of the total funds allocated towards construction of the said road, how much has been disbursed and utilized to date, considering that the contractor is yet to commence on the works? Roman 3, what steps is the ministry taking to ensure that the construction of the said road commences and is completed in time? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Kosing. The question will be replied before the committee of Honorable Kosing. Very well, yeah. Next question by the member for Tharaka, Honorable Mulgara.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask question number 448 of 2021 to the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Planning. 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary state how much money has been set aside for payment of pensions, gratuities, and other benefits to former councillors who served in the former county councils between 1963 and 2012? Number 2, could the Cabinet Secretary state how many of these former councillors are set to benefit from the allocation? And number 3, when does the ministry plan to release the payments to the respective former councillors? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
This one will be replied before the Committee on Finance and Planning. Next question is by the Honorable nominated member Janita Gatti, who has requested for its deferment, which request I acceded to. Her question is deferred to 16th. She requested the 16th. The next question is by the member for Kericho County, Florence Bore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question 452/2021 to the Cabinet Secretary for Lands and Physical Planning. 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide the ownership status and the total acreage of land occupied by the Bombers of Kenya Limited in Lang'ata constituency, Nairobi County? 2. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain why the Bombers of Kenya Limited was not compensated like any other government agency when part of its land was acquired compulsorily by the government? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Lands. Next question by the member for Marsabit County, the Honorable Safia Abdi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask question number 458/2021. What plan has the ministry put in place to establish more water supply project in Marsabit County and in particular Saku constituency to curb increased water shortage in Marsabit County? What measure has the ministry put in place to ensure that majority of households are able to get access to water for their livestock and home use, which will go a long way in reducing conflict in Marsabit County? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. Next question is by the member for Tetu, Honorable James Gishui.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask question number 461 of 2021, directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. What steps is the ministry taking to compensate Ms. Maureen Wanyaga, a rabbit farmer from Tetu constituency, who lost 500 rabbits after feeding them with rabbit pellets bought and supplied by Uga Feeds Limited, which allegedly contained high levels of aflatoxin, despite the products having been certified by the government agencies, such as the Kenya Bureau of Standards? 2. What steps is the ministry taking to ensure that all the regulated and certified animal feeds and drugs are safe for use by farmers and that no farmers will continue losing their livestock as a result of the mentioned incident? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Question will be replied to before the Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. The next question is by the member for Tharaka Nithi, Honorable Beatrice Nyaga, who has written to request deferment to the 17th of this month. The request is acceded to. Therefore, question will be asked on the 17th. The next question is by the member for Napaholo, Majority Whip.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask a question number 463 of 2021 to the Cabinet Secretary for Defense. 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide a detailed report, including medical report, if any, that necessitated the discharge of 1, Mr. Barasa Bob Marvin of KDF number 159544 from Kenya Defence Forces on 14th July 2021 while undergoing training at the Recruit Training School in Eldoret. 2. What assistance is the Ministry extending to Mr. Barasa following his discharge from the service? Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Question will be replied to before the Committee on Defence and Foreign Relations. Next order.
Order number 8, the Election Campaign Financing Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 37 of 2021, first reading. A bill for an Act of Parliament to amend the Election Campaign Financing Act and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 9, the Elections Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 41 of 2021, first reading. A bill for an Act of Parliament to amend the Elections Act number 24 of 2011. Order number 10, the Petroleum Products Taxes and Levies Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 42 of 2021, first reading. A bill for an Act of Parliament to amend various petroleum products tax and levies related laws and for connected purposes. Order number 11, the Advocates Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 43 of 2021, first reading. A bill for an Act of Parliament to amend the Advocates Act.
Yeah. What's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I'm standing on Standing Order 259-1 and Standing Order 1. And Mr. Speaker, 1 year ago, you issued COVID protocol guidelines in as far as the sitting in this chamber is concerned. Speaker, your first guideline was on 60 members inside the chamber. You reviewed it, Mr. Speaker, to 120. And Mr. Speaker, you leading the pack of many leaders in our country who asked for the country to be opened. Now the country has been opened. Curfew has been lifted. Majority, 99% of the members of this House have been vaccinated. Our staff have also been vaccinated. Mr. Speaker, I really want to indulge you that the legislature is very, very critical in dispensing its legislative matters of representation, legislation and oversight. And Mr. Speaker, I really want you to give direction and open the House to all members in line with the current COVID protocol so that every member can sit on a chair with a mic and so that we can participate. Mr. Speaker, we really want your guidance on that because we have gone very far. Vaccinations, I think, not only for this House, but even for the country, we have reached some very substantial level. Maybe the only thing the Speaker will ask you is maybe to restrict the number of visitors not coming to the President of Parliament. But Mr. Speaker, allow us to exercise our functions in accordance with Article 93, 94, 95, so that we be part of the country. The judiciary is gradually opening up, but Mr. Speaker, I want you to give a further guidance that this House comes back to normal, our staff are back to normal, and we comply with the current COVID protocol and be part of the country. Mr. Speaker, I really want to ask you to give direction on that matter.
This is some other people wanted to weigh in. Member for Ndaragwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to appreciate the point raised by Honorable Duale, but ask that even as you consider that request, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is important that we still maintain some social distance. I think it's one of the very important things that we can do, so that it makes one comfortable even when you are doing business, not just within the house, but even outside of the house.
Honorable Shamala.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. While I take cognizance of the fact that it is important that every member of parliament be able to contribute from within the chamber, my concern is that even now, with the current COVID regulations, we are not complying with these regulations. Honorable Duale has said we sit at a place where there is a speaker, a mic, I beg your pardon, and yet I'm concerned because we don't want to get into a situation where we have shouting matches or confrontations within the chamber, and members, not all members, the majority of members have complied, but there are some who are not wearing masks and who are not maintaining social distancing. So, Mr. Speaker, in as much as you do make a decision on this, I humbly request that you take these issues into consideration.
Honorable Shamala, you saying there are some who do not have masks?
At some times, not right now, but on several, yes. If you look in that direction, Mr. Speaker, you will see members without masks. I can see at least two on this side. One has covered and there's another. I don't want to...
Is this the Honorable Abdul Samad?
I don't know.
Is it the one you may be referring to?
Might be. I can't see too clearly, Honorable Speaker.
Oh, the Honorable Bashir. I'm trying to look around to see who doesn't have a mask. Anyhow, your point is made, Honorable Shamala. Honorable Washira Kabinga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. While I support the Honorable Duale on this, Honorable Speaker, I think you need to be guided by the fact that we are not saying COVID is eradicated in this country. COVID is still with us, Honorable Speaker, and therefore you may want to consider probably increasing the number and not opening up completely, Honorable Speaker. As we do so also, we do urge that we continue respecting the rules that are there currently, Honorable Speaker, because even my brother, Honorable Duale, as he was addressing on the issue, he was not putting on the mask, Honorable Speaker, and I think that is not very good for us. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Naraka.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also support that we need to reconsider our positions. We know very well that the COVID rules and regulations, some of them are still in force. And most importantly, we have to learn to live with the disaster, the COVID disease, just as part of life, and therefore we have to be careful at all times and ensure that our own safety is taken care of and that of Kenyans. We are not oblivious of the fact that we are just towards the election here and political rallies have started, and what we are seeing is not anywhere near compliance with the COVID regulations and rules. But that notwithstanding, we cannot throw caution to the wind. Let us be observant and encourage the country to continue observing the COVID rules and regulations. Thank you.
Member Vondiwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As much as the rules have been lifted, Mr. Speaker, it is important to realize that the virus which we are dealing with is a very mutative virus. And Mr. Speaker, in other countries, the breakthrough infections have been realized. And those countries are back to another wave. So what we should do, Mr. Speaker, yes, you can increase the number, but those protocols, the wearing of the masks, the distancings, and others must be enforced. And Mr. Speaker, lastly, if I look at the age bracket of the members here, they are still at risk. So we should not lower down our guards. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Emuru Dikir.
Mr. Speaker, thank you also. I would wish also, Mr. Speaker, to just voice my concerns on the same, Mr. Speaker, that notwithstanding the removal of the curfew and all that, Mr. Speaker, as politicians, we are usually hypocrites. Mr. Speaker, we give regulations in this House strictly, and we try to follow them strictly. But, Mr. Speaker, when we go outside there, we do rallies like normal. So I wonder sometimes, Mr. Speaker, whether when we go for rallies outside there, we suspend Corona. And then when we come here, we now bring Corona here. Mr. Speaker, I think it's also very important. As much as we would want to follow the regulations and the rules and all those protocols, let us not be hypocritical. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow members to come. Allow members to come to this House. We're almost closing this House. We need to deal with all the business that is here. Because we want to close it, we go back home. Speaker.
Member for Kilifi North.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I would like to support the sentiments of Honorable Duale. I agree with him that it's time to allow members to come into this chamber. Like what the member for Murdikira said, we've seen massive rallies out there done by politicians, the same people that come to this chamber and tell us that we have to sit and they don't do it outside there when they do all this. Mr. Speaker, yourself been out there. You've had rallies out there, and you do not tell them to sit 1 meter apart. You know, it's important that we open so that people can exercise their mandate. And I saw the positivity rate is around 0.6%. That is 20 people out of 3,600 yesterday. Only 20 people. And the vaccinations are going on, and almost everybody in this House has been vaccinated. I think it's time that this House be opened and people exercise their mandate without any... Of course, we'll keep the mask, but I would like to sit near my brother here. My seat has been here. Today I'm displaced. I'm the acting leader of minority for today. But I want to go back to my seat. I want to sit with my brother and exchange ideas, and we debate like we've always done before. Mr. Speaker, open the House.
Member Voyata.
Mr. Speaker, I'm of a contrary view, and as you make your ruling, we need to borrow from those countries who have effectively controlled COVID. Mr. Speaker, in Europe, you cannot enter parliament unless you are vaccinated. We have members of this House who have refused to be vaccinated. We can't force them. But being vaccinated, Mr. Speaker, does not mean you cannot contract COVID. So as you make your ruling, Mr. Speaker, consider the fact that COVID is still there. The latest report is that today COVID has hit Germany, the highest rate, if you look at the news, than ever before. So, Mr. Speaker, as you make your ruling, consider the fact that we have visitors coming to Parliament. Must they be vaccinated before they enter Parliament, as is a practice in countries which have been worst hit? And also, what do we do with members who have declined to be vaccinated and they still want to come to Parliament, Mr. Speaker?
Member for Community.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I speak on this matter, the country has been opened, Mr. Speaker. And in terms of vaccination, Mr. Speaker, we assume this House vaccination has been done 100%. And anybody willing, who was unwilling to be vaccinated, Mr. Speaker, then that person should not be allowed to come inside the House. Mr. Speaker, I flew to the U.S. about 2 weeks ago, and I was invited. I went to the Senate in the U.S. Things are totally different, Mr. Speaker. They are only maintaining putting on masks and sanitization. So my humble request, Mr. Speaker, we allow everything to go on, but we maintain putting on masks, Mr. Speaker, and the issue of sanitization, which the House has done very well. But as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, I also want the House to know that I'm the new Secretary General of Fort Kenya, Mr. Speaker. I was elected by the NDC and I want to thank them. I'm the de jure Secretary General of Fort Kenya, and I'm humbly requesting members to join the Simba Party so that we are part of the next government, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Member for Saku.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I wish to add my voice to what Honorable Duale has raised. Honorable Speaker, this is the House of People's Representatives in Kenya, constituted by 349, but only 112 are currently able to sit here. I think in that case, then almost 2/3 of the House is missing at every sitting. My colleagues have raised the issue of COVID is not gone away. People have been vaccinated. Those are all issues out there. But I think you use your wisdom, like you have always done, under Standing Order number 1, to even increase the sitting by 2/3 or by another 1/3, because currently it's just 1/3, so that those who are willing to come in, because when we are looking at the order paper, there are some very important issues that are coming up, and many members must be present to be able to debate and contribute to them. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Emuhaya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this chance, and thank you for the move by Honorable Ndwale on the issue of COVID and the opening up. I think, Honorable Speaker, when you'll be considering this, you should also put in mind that we have been here for the last session, and when you look at the last session, rarely did we have a full house, even though the COVID rules were in place, meaning that even the protocols you had put down for Parliament, they have already been kind of overtaken by events. They have been overtaken by events such that at no given time, like in the last session, when the whole House was full. Now, look at this, Honorable Speaker, when we'll be making this decision, that the tents that used to be outside there for extra sitting are no longer there and nobody thinks about them. That also includes the space that was just outside here. So, meaning that somewhat we are able to accommodate the members who are available. Now, given that we are going towards election and there are times when certain decisions may want to be taken here, where everybody has to participate, I would propose that, Honorable Speaker, you kindly retain the protocols, but at the same time open the House to all members, so that there's no any excuse for anyone, especially should we be dealing with a bill like that one of petroleum. You remember how it went, where somebody will say that for me, I could not enter the House because of the protocols. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Lamu.
Asante Bwana Spika. Kwangu mimi naona ikifunguliwa isifunguliwe yote ni sawa. Kupata akidi kwa hii nyumba, wale ambao hawaelewi akidi ni nini, nasema quorum, ni tabu kwanza sasa. Kwa hivyo ikifunguliwe ni kuwapatia wale wengine wanaotafuta hizo sababu, manake hapa sasa ingine utafuta hiyo akidi na kuwa shida. Kwa hivyo vovote vile ni sawa tu. Asante Bwana Spika.
Honorable Ginan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let's not trivialize a very important issue, Mr. Speaker. Since Corona came, Mr. Speaker, we have lost so many dear friends who ought to have been here. I know death is natural. I'm surprised a bit because this is not an issue that even requires debate. It's common sense. Mr. Speaker, if I were you, and I want to appeal to you, this is the August House. This is not a village market. This is not an extension of the village barazas. We are dealing with the lives and health of the leadership of the Republic of Kenya. It's not something that we can trivialize. I really want to plead with you. Disregard that appeal. Urge all the members who have not been vaccinated to get vaccinated. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, let us lead by example and ensure that we are number one in observing the health protocol, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, trivializing these things, I know, right now, everybody is trying to create a niche and a space for certain things. That is not the issue. This is not an issue that requires petty politics. It's about our lives, it's about our health, it's about our existence. So I want to plead with you, Mr. Speaker, disregard the request from my colleagues and continue to uphold, show the leadership. Let's also show the country, just like this thing, there are countries that tried, Mr. Speaker. Israel, United States of America, Italy, there are a number of countries that lifted. Within a very short time, they saw a sudden surge and they lost so many people. Let's not be misled by the decrease in the numbers. Maybe God has a reason for this. So I want to plead with you, Mr. Speaker. Kindly, let's lead by example. Let's observe the COVID health, protocols. A time will come, maybe the whole country, a decision will be made. But for now, this is Parliament. Let's be a good example to the other Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, and therefore I oppose the request from my colleague that this be lifted. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
No, that's the way it is done in Parliament. You oppose or support. So the rest, since the appeal was made to me, leave it to me. So that. But it's important for me to hear a few of you. Let me hear the member for Mavoko.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With a lot of respect to Honorable Ndwale. Mr. Speaker, the 1 million question we should ask ourselves, how many Kenyans have been vaccinated so far? How many parliamentarians here in this house have been vaccinated? Mr. Speaker, I agree with members who say we should not trivialize this matter of COVID. Mr. Speaker, COVID is a disease that mutates every day. A first world like Russia, Mr. Speaker, are dying every day. Where are we as Kenyans? How can we assume that filling this house is a way of making this house be active? Mr. Speaker, look at these seats. At what point do we fill this house for the last 4 months, Mr. Speaker? I think, Mr. Speaker, I agree with members. Let us observe the COVID protocols until and when that time comes and we are okayed by the Ministry of Health and the world over. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Alego Songa.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I agree with everyone that it is important for us to observe these protocols. But Honorable Speaker, in line of the new regulations, where the country is now free, I think it's important for us to free this house also. Secondly, when members complain that when we fill the house, we will be able to, we will be exposed to COVID. Some of the members are attending very large rallies outside there, and they are not caring about the health of the members of the public. Last week, Honorable Dwale was in a very big rally in Juja, where he was even accusing the president of some stuff. So I think let us lead by example by failing to attend large rallies, and when we come here, let us free members. In fact, Honorable Speaker, there are some members who have not had a chance to speak in this house because of the COVID protocols. When are they going to speak? And their constituents are waiting for them. Let us free the house. That is my view. Thank you.
Let them try to catch the speaker's eye. Member for Kitutu Church and North.
Put me on. I don't have a card. I'm on. Okay.
That's the more reason you should not speak.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me a chance to contribute on this emotive issue. Mr. Speaker, we should not treat COVID normally. Otherwise, it will treat us abnormally. Mr. Speaker, you have seen that countries which have been able to manage COVID, like a country like New Zealand, like China. When they see cases, 2-3 cases of COVID, they close down their borders. We must protect ourselves. Mr. Speaker, how many people have died out of COVID? Although we are not being told, some of our members who have passed on the last 1 year have died because of COVID. A lot of our constituents are dying of COVID. And let us not take a bad example that, some of the politicians are having rallies all over the country without masks and whatnot. We should not copy wrong examples, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this House should provide for this country how the Kenya people should behave against COVID. And we must ensure, Mr. Speaker, I beg you, don't allow what my former boss is asking for. Don't allow it, because you will be condemning us to death. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And I know you rarely come into the chamber on account of member Boseme.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is not an issue that can really be decided by numbers or voting. This is actually a technical issue. When we closed on technical grounds. Even the opening of the country that we have said, basically the only thing that has happened is that the curfew has been removed. But even that announcement that removed the curfew indicated that all the other measures like social distancing, sanitizing, masks should remain. So this House cannot go ahead now and actually disobey that. We'll be giving a wrong message of what the president said. 2, being vaccinated is not foolproof. What is foolproof is that, what is sure is that if you're vaccinated, even if you get the disease, you have less a chance of getting serious illness. But you can get the disease and spread it. So that is still there. Now we are comparing ourselves with other countries. The other countries that are opening us have got 60-70% vaccination. We are at about 2% or so of the whole population. So how can we make that comparison? Further, Mr. Speaker, even the countries with the 60 or 70% vaccination that have opened up are having problems. Europe is having problems. I'm sure in Britain, I know because of people there, the numbers are going up. In Germany, the numbers are going up. Israel was the first country to have 100% vaccination. The numbers are going up. So, Mr. Speaker, I think it would be wrong to make a decision on the basis of what we feel politically. I think it has to be technical, and we should actually not open this House until we have the data that indicates we should. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kitutu Masaba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance to also add my voice to this very emotive matter. Honorable Speaker, COVID is still ravaging the country. But as you look at it, Honorable Speaker, we want to invoke your discretion, because the number that is attending currently is about 112. And I would urge, Honorable Speaker, that within your discretion, this number can be increased slightly. And also urge the honorable members present, those who have not even been vaccinated, to be vaccinated, because if you are seated here and you have not been vaccinated, then it also shows that you are not responsible. We need to take note that we follow the conditions, but it will do us no harm, Honorable Speaker, that you can increase the numbers to levels that would also resonate with what is happening in the country. With that, Honorable Speaker, I would urge that you increase the number.
Member from Vita.
Bwana Spika, nataka kukubaliana na Mheshimiwa Duale vile alivyozungumza, ya kuwa tusiwe watu ambao kwamba tunazungumza lugha nyingine hapa na tukiwa kule nje tunazungumza lugha nyingine. Sio kwa Wakenya hawatuoni. Kila mmoja hapa, kila mmoja ikifika siku ya Ijumaa, Bwana Spika, anaregea mashinani na adhara ya watu ambao kwamba inawazingira si chache. Kisha hapa tuweke sheria, yani sisi wenyewe kifalme ya kwa hapa hatufai kukaa baina ya watu wawili. Lakini tukifika kule nje Hakuna hata siku moja umesikia mtu akizungumza katika mkutano wa hadhara wa kisiasa akianza kuzungumza lugha ya kuwapeaneni nafasi watu wavute pumzi. Na kisha bwana Spika, wengi hapa wamezungumza ya kuwa kuna tatizo nchi nyingine ile ambao idadi ya watu wamefanya vaccination ni kubwa, lakini pia tukumbuke ya kwa mwenyewe Mwenyezi Mungu alivyoamua hapa, pia vifo vetu sio kama vakule. Huku miili yetu imeweza kukubali bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo tusiwe ambao kwamba, na mimi nimeleta bwana Spika, ikiwa unakumbuka kuhusiana na ule mswada wangu, lazima nchi ifunguliwe sasa hivi. Suluhisho bwana Spika ni kwa anayetaka kuingia katika jumba hili aoneshe tu cheti chake ya kuwa amedungwa sindano yake ya vaccination, watu waendelee kuishi na maisha yao. Kila tukikaa namna hii, na sisi hii ndio Wakenya wote wanatuangalia sisi sura zetu, ni kitu gani ambacho kwamba tunafanya na ulaghai gani ambao kwamba tutakuwa tunaufanya na unafiki, ikiwa tunaanza kuzungumza ya kwa lazima tuweke mambo ya kupeana nafasi ndani ya bunge na ilhali nje tunajazana watu kwa wingi sana.
Member for Wajir South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I do concur with my colleagues. One thing that is very important is that we must acknowledge that COVID-19 is no longer considered only as pandemic, but it is endemic. Endemicity of conditions, endemicity of this disease does determine the level of virulence as well. And herd immunity is actually balanced through that. What I'm only trying to say here is that albeit opening up the economy, or albeit opening up pubs and clubs and time of closure is taken away, it does not mean that the condition continues, does not mean that the condition will not continue to be deteriorating in terms of the disease. And therefore, we must understand and undertake that rallies that are undertaken can become the hub of the spread of the disease. And therefore, we must curb political rallies that are totally unnecessary. I stop there. Thank you very much.
Member for Mogotio.
Thank you, Speaker, for giving me this chance also to say one or two about this disease. I think, as the President said, that the country is being opened. However, we see that this disease is still with us. We are still losing the loved ones, although the positivity rate has come down to around 0.5 to 1 point something, which indicates good management of the disease. I still believe that this disease is still dangerous, and I agree with Honorable Nyikal that let us keep the protocols. I don't think it costs much if we actually keep the masks on, because you don't know when you can get this disease, and it's quite dangerous when it actually strikes. We have seen people who have actually been vaccinated. General Powell of US had been fully vaccinated, but he was actually brought down by this disease. So I think we should not really underrate this disease, and I think unless we all agree that everybody who is working here in Parliament, not only the members of Parliament, but all members of staff are vaccinated, then we can agree to maybe allow opening up. Otherwise, I second that we actually keep the protocols in place. Thank you, Speaker.
Member for Kwanza.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I want to agree with what my friend has said. Let's not be emotional. Positivity rate is low, yes, it's 0 point something, but still come up. I think, to me, the Speaker, we should actually keep the protocol. Otherwise, we'll see, and remember one time, they said the rate was very low. His Excellency the President went to Kisumu, and we saw what happened. The whole nation is looking at us. Let's not be emotional. We come from different places, and this is a place where everybody comes from different places. I think let's not be emotional. I think let's keep the protocol, wait, and I request, Mr. Speaker, that you look at this from the technical point of view. I am not. I'm an economist. I don't know anything about the diseases. Let's have the technical team advise you. Let's cover the advice by the technical team. And then we see the whole world is looking at us. We make a mistake here, we'll be the ones to be blamed. The Speaker, let's keep the protocol. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was answering a question which was and then I realized you gave me. But Honorable Speaker, let me weigh in this matter. That yes, it's true that the country has partially been open. It's the curfew that was lifted. But at the same time, truth be told, like what members have said, is that the disease has not gone. It is still with us. And we must be quite careful how we handle a situation where I take the authority of Honorable Nyekal, that we are doing about 5 to 7% vaccination, when other countries that have done higher vaccination percentages are still having problems, others opening and closing. So I want to persuade you, Honorable Speaker, that even though there are politicians out there who are holding rallies without taking due consideration to protocols, the COVID protocols, let them carry their luggage, let them carry their own baggage there. But Honorable Speaker, don't carry ours, because in this house, we are a house of rules. We cannot just mess because we think other people are messing. We can as well do with what we have now, the current arrangement. And even if we were to review, you review it in accordance with the reviewed COVID-19 protocols. That is my submission, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to suggest that we stick to our protocols for COVID. Mr. Speaker, I want to give this House a personal experience. I'm fully vaccinated. My wife was fully vaccinated, but she ended up getting COVID from our daughter. And things were very terrible for her, despite she was vaccinated, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is not an issue just to imagine. This is a very, very serious issue. Mr. Speaker, if you look over the weekend, Latvia as a country has vaccinated 80% of their population. But as we speak today, this week, Latvia have gone on a lockdown because the disease is within the community. Mr. Speaker, the most serious part of opening up this chamber is that we have our colleagues who are not fully vaccinated. We have rallies over the weekend. And then on Monday, Tuesday, we are in this chamber whereby we are not even sure of a deletion. The whole afternoon, Macau here is sweating because the aircon is not working, Mr. Speaker. We must maintain our full COVID protocols, Mr. Speaker. Let's not trifle on this issue, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the statistics of the country right now, we are just vaccinated less than 5% of Kenyans. We members of parliament over the weekend, we are interacting with those members of the public. The members of public at the constituency level, we still have Kenyans dying of COVID, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there are statements which might look obvious, popular, but when we are dealing with the health of the members and the leadership of the country, which is the National Assembly, we should not look popular anymore. We must show the country we maintain COVID protocols so that Kenyans can follow those COVID protocols to save other Kenyans. Honorable Dwala, you are my friend. But this one, we can't agree. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you look at this chamber right now, we have seats which are reserved for members of parliament to come and debate here, but they are not here. They are empty. What are we trying to show Kenyans? Mr. Speaker, I will urge you and beg you, you are a man of wisdom. Reject that proposal from Honorable Dwale and we maintain the COVID protocol after the experience underwent with my wife. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Nominee 001.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And as I rise to also weigh in on this issue, the Honorable Member who have just spoken was not even wearing his mask properly and was pretending to be one of the proponents of keeping COVID-19 protocols. It should start with you. Honorable Speaker, I think there have been review of this protocol over time. When we started, we had only a few members because we were staying at a social distance of more than 5 meters or 6 meters. Honorable Speaker, currently the reviewed protocol is that we can stay, as far as we wear our mask properly, a distance of 1.5 meters, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think it is time that we give more members room to come into the House and debate, Honorable Speaker. And I think as now where we are at around 2 meters from each other, Honorable Speaker. If we can just make it 1.5 meters, Honorable Speaker, I think more members can access the chamber so that we can also have more contribution, Honorable Speaker. Unlike some of us who come very early, Honorable Speaker, some come a bit late and they find that the seats are already occupied and they may be having important issues that they will discuss. Honorable Speaker, but we should lead by example and always putting on our mask properly, Honorable Speaker, because properly mean you have to wear your mask over your nose. It is even better you leave your mouth and cover your nose, because your mouth you can cover with your lips, but the nose can never be closed. It is always open, Honorable Speaker, and during sneezing you can really project some organism, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, I think I support Honorable Ndwale that we should review our COVID-19 protocols. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for the show.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think, Mr. Speaker, before you consider the request that has been made by Honorable Duale, it's good, first of all, to see where we are coming from and where we are going. Mr. Speaker, I know that for you to review the seating arrangement in this House, you've always followed the requisite advice from the technical people. In my view, I will not say that you review to increase the numbers or you reduce. But, Mr. Speaker, within your wisdom, I'm sure you are able to seek some advice from a technical committee which can advise you on how to deal with this matter. And, Mr. Speaker, the request by Honorable Duale was very good for the members generally. But particularly, it doesn't seem to end up, because there is no member who has come into this House and has not gotten a space to sit. So as we go on, because there are some matters that might also attract a lot of interest of the members, and during the voting, I think it's important that as you look into this matter, it is not within your discretion, neither at the discretion of this House through the voting or any other process, but through an advice of a technical committee which might comprise of health officials who are well versed with the matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that being the leader that we are, we should always lead by example. No matter what happens out there, we should always be on the right. And therefore, I want to say we should not put our guards down as pertains COVID protocols. And therefore, I think we should continue following the protocols as we were doing before. Thank you.
Member for Pokot South.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to weigh on the matter. Honorable Speaker, reviews are compulsory. That is the truth. Whether to increase or reduce, and therefore, Honorable Speaker, the review must be done. But then what guides the review, Honorable Speaker? This is my suggestion. In terms of people coming to the House and lacking seats, Honorable Speaker, that should not be the reason. I have been in this House and I've never seen anybody coming and missing a seat, Honorable Speaker. That's the truth. Nobody. These are sufficient seats, except when we were doing that motion on some report of security. That's when I saw that it is full house. That's number one, Honorable Speaker. Number two, if you look at the truth of what is going on, maybe people come into the House, Honorable Speaker, and wear this mask because we are on a TV or live discussion. You go to the lobby when people are having tea. What happens? Everybody's okay. To be honest, Speaker, people come and talk here as if we are talking in a moon. It's not true. You go to the lobby here when we are taking tea. It is true, Honorable Speaker. We are just talking and having tea like everybody else or everywhere, as if we are in your house. That's the truth. And this is Parliament, Honorable Speaker. So if we come to the House and lie to ourselves that we should not review, and when we leave here, people go to tea. You follow them, Honorable Speaker. They will be having no mask. In fact, there was an example, Honorable Speaker, in one of the newspapers. And what was happening was this person was showing a caricature of Kenyans discussing about Tanzanians not having masks. And you know how they were wearing, Honorable Speaker? They had their mask at the chin, and now discussing and saying, look at Tanzania, they have no mask. And yet, Honorable Speaker, actually the Kenyans themselves have no masks, Honorable Speaker. So reviewing is compulsory, Honorable Speaker. What you need to do maybe is to look at those protocols and also talk with those officials, that is health officials. But Honorable Speaker, people talk because they are only watching in camera. When they leave this house, no mask, they are drinking tea, they are having lunch, they are discussing about what happened over the weekend. They even don't know where they came from over the weekend. Honorable Speaker, review is compulsory. How you are going to do it, you are guided by the health officers. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well, I think that suffices. And as you know, the protocols guide us in what we do. But of course, it is fair to appreciate and acknowledge what has happened in other areas, places of worship. There has been some increase, but public transport, places where you go in the evenings, most of you, they have also been reviewed. So there's nothing wrong with a review, save that we will be advised accordingly as to what is best for us in the circumstances that we are a chamber of 349, 350 in fact. So if we were to follow what was designated for others, perhaps there may be an upward review in the increase of numbers. We don't want any member to say that they have been unable to come and vote or participate on account that it wasn't possible to come because they fear that they are going to be infected by many of you. Yet they don't fear you when you are eating mandazi. So when you are out there chewing mandazi, there's nobody is worried about the other. But we obviously we already in the process of seeking some technical advice on the matter. Indeed, I can only thank the Honorable Duale for raising it today, because we, as the administration, were already in the process of seeking some advice on how best to address this situation. Because, see, constantly, sometimes you may even have a joint sitting of the House. When we have a joint sitting of the House, obviously 120 would be a very limited number. So, but it's good to at all times take the advice from the health professionals responsible for that. So that will come. That will come. Communication to addressing that issue will come. But it was necessary also to hear many of you, including the member for Matungulu, so that he doesn't think that he's alone. And also, of course, the Honorable Angwenyi, who has since finished his participation in the chamber. Let's move to the next order.
Order number 12, Committee of the Whole House.
Sorry, honourable members. Before we move to that order, I have this communication to make. As you are aware, honourable members, the Waqf Bill, National Assembly Bill number 73 of 2019, seeks to provide for the establishment of the Waqf Commission and administration of Waqf property, and for connected purposes, is due for consideration in Committee of the Whole House in accordance with the requirements of Standing Order 130. To this end, a schedule of the various amendments proposed to be considered at the Committee of the Whole House has been published in the order paper as notice of amendments. Other than the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, the member for Garissa Township, the Honorable Ede Duale, the member from Mbita, the Honorable Millie Odhiambo, and the member from Mvita, the Honorable Abdulsamad Nasir, have given notices of proposed amendments to the bill. Honourable members, I wish to inform you that I have since received through the Office of the Clerk a memorandum from the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims raising several issues with respect to the amendments proposed by the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs to clauses 2 and 8 of the bill. Honourable members, just as a way of highlight, the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs has proposed amendments to clause 2 of the bill to introduce a new definition of the term Hajj. Further, the committee proposes an amendment to clause 8 in order to expand the functions of the Waqf Commission to include coordination, licensing, supervision, and regulation of services relating to Hajj in Kenya and representation of Kenya in matters relating to Hajj. These are contained in the proposed new paragraphs GC and GD. Honourable members, the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, in the memorandum to the Speaker, objects to the inclusion of the amendments touching on Hajj. The Council contends, among other grounds, that the proposed amendments to the bill in clauses 2 and 8 in the proposed new paragraphs GC and GD are misplaced, as they propose to bring Hajj matters under the Waqf Commission, which conventionally deals with Waqf property and the related trusteeship. Honourable members, consequently, I have examined the proposed amendment to clause 2 and the proposed new paragraphs GC and GD in clause 8 against the provisions of Standard
In fact, today, no one knows who is the next to die, because the war is no longer out of the town, but it is within the town and eliminating people one by one. Marsabit County is a home to over 14 ethnic groups, and every ethnic group has equal right. But unfortunately, it is like the government has abandoned that part of the country, and people are dying every evening, every morning, and nobody is bothering with what will happen next. And therefore, we plead with the government, the CS Matiang'i and all his people, the security agencies on the ground, so that people's life can be protected and their properties can also be protected. Thank you. I support the statement.
Senator Kithu Ngugi Isaac. And senators, I only have 3 minutes and I can't go beyond that. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want first to thank you for giving me this opportunity to contribute on the two statements. And first, I want to thank my sister, Falhada, for this statement. Madam Speaker, this is very much worrying because 22 lives lost in a day, that cannot just be a number. And Madam Speaker, it's sad to note that even myself, I'm just learning about these killings right now. If we were in other countries, Madam Speaker, this should have been treated as an emergency in the security sector, Madam Speaker. But Madam Speaker, one of the things that are worrying me more is that these guys are armed. And the question that we should ask ourselves is, who arms these guys? Who gives them the guns and the bullets? Madam Speaker, the people living in that region have no capacity. We all know the process that one goes through before they acquire a firearm. So the question that we should ask ourselves is, who arms these people? And Madam Speaker, this is more worrying, especially when we are going to the next general election next year, and having bandits or illegal gangs in the hands of the wrong people. Madam Speaker, I wouldn't want a situation whereby we are going back or we are having a more worse situation than what we experienced in 2007, 2008. Therefore, Madam Speaker, we should support the disarmament of those guys.
Thank you.
Because they have illegal gangs. And Madam Speaker, just a second on the issue on Samson Cheragei's statement. Please. Madam Speaker, I come from Nyandarua. And one of the issues in Nyandarua, Madam Speaker, Nyandarua is known for bad roads. I would be very keen to know the status of these marginal counties, and I hope and I wish that my brother would have added Nyandarua County, especially Nyandarua constituency, where I took refuge in. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Senator Otengula, can you take 2 minutes only? Please, 2 minutes. And I will switch you off.
Take it on at the right time.
Honorable Musalia Mudavadi.
The Honorable Mutahi Kagwe.
Chief Justice Martha Karambuko.
This is KBC, is the voice of Kenya.
Asking the right questions.
I don't know how it made you feel as speaker who is presiding over a house where members can be compromised with 10,000 shillings.
We keep our guests comfortable. A mission to ensure our audience gets a complete story.
For a few hours or so, I thought this is it. My end has come.
If really we want an end of this pandemic, we must fight.
Our goal, to tell it as it is for the benefit of our viewer.
And I'm sure we will have good discussions.
All right.
that will make probably your viewers understand KDF better.
With 21 radio outlets.
During a live interview on KBC TV, Chief of Defense Forces General Robert Kibosha.
Jaji mkuu kwa mara ya kwanza katika mahojiano yake ya kipekee na runinga ya KBC Channel 1.
And 2 TV stations covering over 90% of the entire country. The message always gets home. KBC, the home of on-air TV interviews.
People, boast around having much more population, and every year we keep on arming ourselves to decrease our population. Please, our brothers and sisters in northern Kenya and also the Asal area, because even Samburu and all these other places still there is conflict. Please stop fighting each other. Please, for the sake of the sons and daughters that will come from. And finally, Madam Speaker, I wish to thank Senator Falhada for bringing this statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Next order. Okay. Honorable Senators, for the convenience of the House, we will defer order number 8 and order number 9 until the whips are ready. And then next order.
Order number 10, the Intergovernmental Relations Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 37 of 2021, second reading.
Honorable Senators, we had done the moving, the seconding. In fact, the last speaker actually concluded. So, who would like to come on? Two members had spoken. Sakaja, your card is still on, but I know you had contributed. Kitura Gendegi had contributed. Senator Nandi, are you on for this one or a previous one? Yes, are you on order 10? The Intergovernmental Relations Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 37. Okay, there being no other member wishing to debate, I would like Okay. We need to conclude whip. Honorable members, we would have gone straight to the response from the mover. The mover is not in, so we defer order number, we also defer order number 11. Senator Sylvia Kasanga is not in. Senator Murgomen was here for order number 12. I don't see him. Order Murgomen, I don't see him. Order number 13. So I defer order 11, order 12, order number 13 by Senator Moses Kachwang. I don't see him either, and he's not online. Order number 14 by the National Cohesion and Peace Building Bill by Senator Judith Pareno. Is she online? He's not online, so we defer that one. And then honorable senators, again, for the convenience of the House, will defer the committee of the all of them, order number 15, order number 16, order number 17, order number 18. Yes. Senator Sakaja, I can see you have a concern. Please raise it.
Madam Speaker, apart from the fact that there was a very important statement that we wanted to contribute to about Marsabit, but you rushed, yet now you don't have members for this business. I don't understand why you're deferring committee of the whole. We are here, and we have our bills at committee stage, unless there's a shortage of presiding officers for committee. But Madam Speaker, this is something we've discussed in House business. We have bills to deal with. We can pass a resolution now allowing somebody else to sit in at committee if there's a shortage there. But Madam Speaker, we're in this House to transact business. Otherwise, you will have to adjourn at this point, which is bad news. Prompt payment is there, startup bill is there, and we're here, Madam Speaker. It's okay.
Okay, we are looking for the chair of the Committee of Lands to move the amendments on order number 15. I know what your concerns, Senator Sakaja. The chair of the Committee of Lands or any delegated member to move the amendments. Order number 16, we will go through them one by one. The Committee of Agriculture to move the amendments again on the Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill. Do we have the chair of Agriculture and Cooperatives? I don't see him. Is he going to move online?
He's not.
But is he going to move the amendments online? Because we are okay. We have the chair of the committees. Order number 17 is by the Standing Committee on Education. The chair is not here. Order number 18, prompt payment. We have the movers. Where are the amendments coming from? Senate Standing Order number 18, prompt payment bill. The amendments are from the Finance Chair. And you're the mover. So you can't move because you're the mover. Any other member? Senator Watangula is around. You would move that. And then Committee of the All. You cannot move your own amendments if they are not yours. It has to be the chair. And then he's not aware about what is to be moved. The next one is the startup bill by Senator Sakaja Johnson is here, but the Trade Committee chair, where is the Trade Committee chair to move the amendments? They are not present. Honorable members, I will not shelve them. I will skip them for now and come back. just in case we have some of the chairs around, we can come back to that. So for now, let's move to the next order.
Order number 20, motion, adoption of the report of the Standing Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs and Human Rights on the inquiry into extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances in Kenya.
Chairperson, Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee of Justice, Legal Affairs, Human Rights on the inquiry into extrajudicial killings and extra disappearances in Kenya, laid on the table of the House of the Senate on Tuesday, 19th of October, 2021. Madam Speaker, I first want to thank my predecessor, the former chair of Committee of Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights, my good friend Senator Cherargei, who did the bulk of the work that is contained in the report, which we seek that the House adopts this afternoon. Madam Speaker, the committee that was ably led by Senator Cherargei did a lot of stakeholder hearings that culminated into the preparation of this report. All that I did, Madam Speaker, was to merely put the icing on the cake. So if there is any credit in this report, that should go to my good friend Senator Cherargei, whom I thank profusely for the good work and effort that is he put into this very worthy assignment. Madam Speaker, the extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances in Kenya is a matter that has been of grave concern to the people of Kenya prior to the passage of the 2010 Constitution and even after the passage of the 2010 Constitution. Madam Speaker, when this committee commenced this inquiry, we intended to establish the factors that led to this continued practice and persistence despite the many reforms that this country has experienced in the police force and the justice sector generally. Madam Speaker, in the course of our work, as I've stated, we did conduct a number of key stakeholder hearings. Madam Speaker, we spoke to families of the victims of the extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances. Madam Speaker, we conducted hearings with various human rights organizations, both in Nairobi, in Kwale, and in Mombasa. We spoke and had presentations from key stakeholders, including Independent Police Oversight Authority, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. We had sittings and hearings with the Director of Public Prosecutions. We had hearings with the Office of the Attorney General. We also spoke with a number of civil society organizations and human rights organizations and the statutory bodies, including the Law Society of Kenya. In the process of our hearings, Madam Speaker, we had a number of first-hand chilling accounts, Madam Speaker, of the terror that has been visited upon families and communities arising from extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances. Sadly, Madam Speaker, you will see footsteps of police involvement in a number of these killings. Madam Speaker, having had all these sittings and public hearings, this committee has come up with a number of legislative proposals, policy proposals, and administrative proposals on how to address this problem. Madam Speaker, perhaps I should just give an account on some of the chilling accounts that this committee received from state agencies that gave us an insight on how deep this problem is. Madam Speaker, on presentations before us by IPOA, Independent Police Oversight Authority, this House will be shocked, Madam Speaker, that between the period of 1st of October 2018 and 28th of February 2020, the authority received a total of 210 cases of death as a result of police action. That is hard, Madam Speaker. 210. And most of these deaths, Mr. Speaker, occurred maybe some in police custody, some were enforced disappearances. To give just an insight, Mr. Speaker, deaths that happened due to police action in the Nairobi County alone during that period were 35. In other counties, there were a total of 111. That is deaths due to police action, cases where the police, without applying the law, shoot suspects and they kill them. The others include deaths that happen in police custody. These are cases, Madam Speaker, where the police arrest victims, but they subject them to inhuman treatment in the police cells, and then that results into death. In Nairobi, Madam Speaker, we had 4 deaths, and in other counties across the country, we had 35 deaths. Madam Speaker, in terms of enforced disappearances, during this period, we had a total of 6 enforced disappearances in the county of Nairobi, and we had 19 spread in other counties across the country. And that gives us a total of 210 cases. In terms of complaints that were handled by the authority for a period of just 7 months only, that is between 1st of March 2020 and 30th of September 2020, Madam Speaker, the authority received a total of 124 cases of death as a result of police action. If I can give a summary, Madam Speaker, on the nature of cases, deaths due to police action during that period in Nairobi were 16, in other counties 79, and that gives us a total of 95. Deaths that happened in police custody, we had Nairobi 1 death, in other counties we had 18. Enforced disappearances for that period of 7 months, we had 2 cases in Nairobi and 8 cases in other counties. Maybe, Madam Speaker, I can just pick 2 cases to give the House a picture of the kind of torture that families of these victims go through. I will give you a case of a victim called Duncan Givinji. Madam Speaker, this is an investigation into a shooting of a member of the public by police officers for a 3-year-old baby named Master Duncan Givinji that happened on the 8th of November 2019 in Soweto slums in Kawa West. As at the time, Madam Speaker, of preparing this report, the police were still investigating this matter, and no file had been submitted to the Director of Public Prosecutions for directions. But you can imagine that the life of a 3-year-old innocent child was taken away in the hands of the police officers. Madam Speaker, there is another case of Carlton Maina. This was another shooting that happened in the hands of the police officers on the 22nd of December 2018 in Kibra, Nairobi. In this particular case, Madam Speaker, this police officer who was involved in this heinous crime was arrested, and on the 23rd of April 2020, he was charged with the offense of murder. On that account, I commend the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution for having stepped forward to take up the prosecution of some of these cases. Another one, Madam Speaker, is a case that took place in broad daylight at 11 a.m. at Mama Lucy Hospital in Nairobi, Eastlands, where Mr. Daniel Mburu was shot by a police officer outside Mama Lucy Hospital. The good news is that that particular police officer, Madam Speaker, has also been charged, and he was charged on the 12th of March 2020, and these cases are pending in court for hearing. Again, we want to commend the DPP for the good action. There are a number of cases that we have mentioned in our report, and on all these, Madam Speaker, we also need to commend the Office of Independent Police Oversight Authority that has done the bulk of the investigations that culminated to the charging of the police officers that were involved by the Director of Public Prosecutions. However, Madam Speaker, as a committee, we need to extend a lot of assistance to the Office of Independent Police Oversight Authority because they are facing a number of challenges, Madam Speaker. One of the challenges, Madam Speaker, is that the police, as a matter of practice, they never notify IPOA on deaths that happen or any serious injuries that are occasioned to members of public in clear violation of Section 25 of Independent Police Oversight Act of 2011. We need to consider some amendment that should make it mandatory for the police to inform IPOA. Another problem and challenge that IPOA is facing is the non-operationalization of the National Corona Services Act and the Prevention of Torture Act 2017. These acts were passed by Parliament, but they have never been operationalized. So they are not being of help to the victims. Another problem and challenge, Madam Speaker, is that Kenya has not ratified the International Convention for Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances, and this is a matter that in our recommendation we have recommended that the Office of the Attorney General should take action. In terms of getting witnesses that can assist in convictions of the cases that are before court, we were told by IPOA, Madam Speaker, that witnesses face a number of intimidations and threats from the police officers because some of the police officers have friends in the police force, and these threaten and intimidate the witnesses. Another problem, Madam Speaker, is that most of the recommendations that are made by IPOA to the police are never acted upon, especially where there is recommendation that disciplinary action, including interdictions, be taken by the police force. Most of these recommendations, Madam Speaker, are normally disregarded by the Inspector General of Police. There is a problem that is recurring across the country, and this is crowd control management by the police force. Madam Speaker, the reports that we are getting from IPOA is that anytime they are called upon to respond to a riot or to a demonstration, the police readily resort to using live ammunition. Unlike what we see in other countries, Madam Speaker, where you should use rubber bullets, for example, or other means of crowd control. The reports that we have from IPOA, Madam Speaker, is that the Kenyan police readily resort to using of live ammunition against Kenyans who are picketing as allowed, as it's permitted by our Constitution 2010. Also, Madam Speaker, a number of regulations are yet to be passed by Cabinet Secretary, especially regulations that touch on National Police Service Act, especially Part 12, Section A. And this blame is squarely on the Cabinet Secretary's Office for Interior, and we have made recommendation that these regulations should be enacted and approved by Parliament within a period that we have given in our report. So in total, Madam Speaker, IPOA recommends that there should be full adherence to the rule of law by the police. The adage is that you can never be a judge over your own cause. Victims or suspects of criminal acts should be arrested by the police, taken to court, and it's the court that should pass a verdict. Madam Speaker, we also got another representation from another statutory body, that's the National Commission on Human Rights. Madam Speaker, the Commission gave us a long report of the cases they have been investigating for the last 7 years. That's the period from 2013 to 2020. Again, not very good news to this House, because this commission has documented a total of 1,040 cases of people who have disappeared in the hands of the security agencies. Now, the sad part, Madam Speaker, is that 80% of these people are young adults, aged between the age of 18 and 35 years, meaning that we are losing a very productive sector of our population in the hands of the police. Again, you will be surprised that most of these victims are subjected to torture. Some of them, we were told, very sad cases, Madam Speaker, where they were subjected to electric shocks. We got accounts of people who are subjected to genital mutilation, Madam Speaker. We got cases where victims were exposed to extreme cold or heat, and this brought to our mind what happened to our colleague, Senator Malala, Madam Speaker. You remember when he was arrested in Kakamega, he was kept outside under arrest in a police station up to 11 p.m. in the cold weather of Kakamega. So some of the cases that we got. There are even cases, Madam Speaker, documented by Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, where victims were hanged on trees. Some were subjected to mock executions. Some were exposed to stinging by ants in the wild. Some, Madam Speaker, in this era, Madam Speaker, were denied sleep and food in the hands of the police officers. Madam Speaker, this is a very sad account on what is happening to Kenyans under the hands of the police. Madam Speaker, we were also told cases where the police had formed a notion that they will fight terror with terror, Madam Speaker, meaning that suspects who are suspected to have been engaged in terrorism or terror-related activities were also met with terror in the hands of the police. Here, Madam Speaker, we were given documented cases of 150 people who disappeared in the hands of the police. Some were killed and brutalized by the police in the name of being members who belong to terrorist organizations. Madam Speaker, while this House and my committee does not support acts of terrorism, we still maintain that suspects engaged in any criminal activities, including terror, should be subjected to the rule of law by being arrested, being tried in courts of law, and if found guilty, be convicted and jailed by our courts. We don't support the idea of the police themselves turning out into terror gangs. Madam Speaker, we were also told about cases of the kind of extrajudicial killings and disappearances that took place on the pretext of whipping out members of Mungiki members. And here, Madam Speaker, we are given a detailed report by the Kenya National Human Rights Commission on how the police dealt with members of Mungiki in some cases by shooting them without subjecting them to any arrests. We were told of cases of many members, alleged members of Mungiki, who were either killed or disappeared in the hands of the police. In total, Madam Speaker, under this heading, we considered a total of 200 cases. Then we were told about the Mountain of Terror. This is something that happened in Mount Elgon in the year 2008 when the police were trying to deal with an illegal organization that was called Sabwat Land Defense Forces in Mount Elgon. Again, here there were a lot of human rights abuses, some that targeted very innocent civilians who are either spouses or members or families of the alleged perpetrators of that illegal organization. So in total, Madam Speaker, the accounts that we received from this organization point to a police force that has gone roguish, that does not really adhere to the rule of law, and that has totally violated the human rights of Kenyans. As I've stated, Madam Speaker, a number of these victims are young persons who are in the productive bracket in our country. Now, this is the price that we are paying as a country in the hands of the police. And Madam Speaker, this committee is making a very strong case that the police going forward should be held personally liable for the acts they commit that violates constitutional rights of Kenyans. Madam Speaker, on looking at the footprints of impunity, a number of suits have been filed against the government of Kenya arising from the acts committed in the hands of the Kenyan police. In total, Madam Speaker, there are about 126 suits that have been filed by torture victims, some going back to the KANU days. But this is what should be of concern to the House, Madam Speaker. In total, our courts of law has awarded a whooping 372,524,686 as compensation for these victims. Madam Speaker, this is money that is going to be paid from the coffers of our taxes. And this committee recommends that going forward, the police officers should be held personally responsible for these violations. And any compensation awarded should be paid personally by the police officers. Now, finally, on the engagement we had with the public bodies, we also had a hearing with the Director of Public Prosecutions. And Madam Speaker, here we were informed by the Office of the DPP that he has so far received a total of 175 files, most of them dealing with police excesses, of which 85 cases have already been processed, filed in court, and they are ongoing. The good news is that so far he has secured 6 convictions against police officers who have been involved in police excesses. Madam Speaker, in addition, there are 38 files that were forwarded to the DPP between the period 22nd of April 2020 and May 29. And of these, the DPP has given consent to prosecutions on 15, and these are pending to be presented before our courts of law for processing. Madam Speaker, we also had an engagement with the Office of the Attorney General, and the only thing I want to pick from the Attorney General is that the Attorney General is proposing that there should be establishment of a strong multi-agency task force so that there can be better synergy, collaboration, and cooperation between the various agencies that hold law enforcement officers accountable. That, Madam Speaker, will form part of the recommendations that are in this report. Madam Speaker, if you permit me, I now want to give to the House an account of the recommendations that this committee has made, and we have divided this into 3, Madam Speaker. The first recommendation will deal with the legislative recommendations. The second one is on policy, and the third one is administrative. Madam Speaker, so that the work of this committee is not in vain, we have identified the actors that are responsible for the implementation of the recommendation that this committee is making. We have also given timelines within which that particular actor should act. And finally, we have identified the body that should oversight the full implementation of the recommendations of the Senate. Madam Speaker, the first one on legislative, we have recommended that the Office of the Attorney General should initiate the process of ratifying the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances in accordance with Section 7 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act. Madam Speaker, we identified this as a big gap, and this is a responsibility that is in the doorsteps of the Attorney General, and this committee, Madam Speaker, pleads with the House that this be done within a period of 2 months. Madam Speaker, to ensure that this recommendation is not in vain, this committee recommends that the Attorney General files a status report to this House within a period of 3 months to confirm full compliance of this recommendation. Number 2, Madam Speaker, on legislative reform, my committee recommends that this Honorable House amends the National Police Service Act and the Independent Police Oversight Authority Act to grant IPOA the primary responsibility to investigate crimes alleged to have committed by police officers. Again, Madam Speaker, the wisdom behind this is that the police have friends within the police service, and it's like sending a thief to catch a thief. So we are recommending that investigations be placed under the hands of IPOA that is totally detached from the police unit. Madam Speaker, the actor to implement this is Parliament, and we are proposing that this be done within a period of 12 months. The oversight body should be the Committee of Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights. The third recommendation, Madam Speaker, is that we are recommending to Parliament that the Independent Police Oversight Authority Act, the Wildlife Management, Conservation and Management Act, the Prisons Act, the Forest Conservation and Management Act, and the Kenya Coast Guard Services Act be amended to expand the mandate of IPOA to exercise civilian oversight and investigation mandate on crimes alleged by officers of Kenya Wildlife Service, KPS, KFS, and KCGS. The reasoning behind this, Madam Speaker, is that as we stand today, IPOA does not have mandate over these bodies that we have named here, yet we got accounts of abuses that are committed by officers serving under those bodies. Again, the actor responsible for this amendment should be Parliament, and Madam Speaker, we have proposed that this be done within a period of 12 months. Madam Speaker, on the CS Interior and Coordination of National Government, we have made a recommendation that he moves with speed to make regulations on the use of force and firearms to guide police officers as is required under the 6th schedule to the National Police Service Act. Madam Speaker, this is a lacuna because this obligation is there, placed under the mandate in the mandate of the CS Interior, but these regulations, Madam Speaker, have never been enacted, and this has left the police to be a bit roguish or now to use reasonable force and firearms in enforcing the law. We are of the view that once these regulations are put in place, it will act as a check on use and misuse of firearms by police officers. The actor who should implement this, Madam Speaker, is the CS Interior, acting together with the Inspector General of Police. Madam Speaker, we are recommending that this should be done within a period of 6 months, and that oversight should be done by the CS Interior, but he should file a status report to the Senate within a period of 3 months. Madam Speaker, another legislative proposal is that the CS for National Treasury, in collaboration with the Office of the Attorney General, should make regulations to operationalize the Victim Protection Trust Fund established under the Victim Protection Act. Madam Speaker, why we are recommending that this regulation be in place is because there is no clear guideline on how victims who are supposed to receive compensation under the Victim Protection Act should get their compensation. Madam Speaker, here we are recommending that action should be taken by the Honorable Attorney General in collaboration with the CS National Treasury, and that this should be done within a period of 6 months. And Madam Speaker, to ensure that our recommendation is not in vain, we recommend that the Office of Attorney General and the CS National Treasury should file a status report on compliance of this recommendation within a period of 3 months. Madam Speaker, that marks the end of the committee's proposals on legislative action. Madam Speaker, on policy, Madam Speaker, we have made a number of recommendations. The first one is that we have recommended that the National Security Council should develop a national security policy. This is because, Madam Speaker, in the course of having our hearings with all these public bodies, it came to our attention that this country, as we speak today, does not have a national security policy in place. And this is a very big gap. Here, Madam Speaker, we have put this obligation under the offices of the CS Interior and Coordination of National Government, and we propose, Madam Speaker, that this should be done within a period.
You're acting different.
Please. Just be careful.
Once a wild goose starts flying, it'll never quit.
I'll ask you one last time. Do you really want to marry me?
You're like my sister. Forget me. I believe in the future. You'll meet your hero.
After you drink this cup of wine, you will become my wife.
那一人那一面，也不愿你我错过的流年。某一年，某一眼，谁留恋？
Unafanya nini uchizi huku?
Chizi wewe na watu kwenu. Tuheshimiane.
Ulikuwa unaangalia nini? Mbona ukakusikitika hivi?
Niko sawa. Niko sawa tu, kuna shida.
Najua ulijaribu sana kunikanya lakini sikukusikiza. Najuta.
Kama kawaida leo umechelewa.
Nakuona umechangamka sana. Hata juma mara mwisho nilikuwa umechangamka hivi ni lini?
Kwa hivyo wataka sote tushikwe, tufungiwe huko ndani. Alafu ataka kusaidia nani?
That Diana Maria, my son Vicente's girlfriend, is still alive.
I'm in love with Cassandra. It was love at first sight. Asked